I got so excited because I thought we were actually going to get a magic cooking show. Erie, I'm not sure what you're doing. Like, I'm not sure what you're looking for. Um, no, I do not, in fact, have work tomorrow. Mm. There you go. I gotta set a command up for it. I'm just, you guys know I cobble that crap together. I thought when I first saw Billy Brujo that I was going to see. I don't know if I have a command for that. I've got one for the Discord. Mm-hmm. Okay, so hold on. Let me see here. Let me see what all we got. Okay. So that's not too bad. But yeah, I have yet to see a purely kitchen witch focused, like, these are the recipes, these are the intentions I use it for, this is how you modify it for these things. Like, kitchen witches cooking show. And I think that would go over extremely well. I was pushing Rogue for a while to do some of that. But Brat, you would also do really well making something like that. What's to stop you from doing one, Brat? And what's funny is you and Rogue have such different palates, food-wise, that y'all aren't even really competing with each other. I mean, I think you guys would end up showing a lot of viewers, but you wouldn't really be competing either. So I'm 100% down with this. I would love to watch your cooking show. Get it around, Brat. Also, Brat, you might as well join the queue because we've got. I'm gonna do Erie's reading, and then I'm sure Starry's got some things to talk about, and then you've got tea. So, like, we got a good. We will find out. So, what you got for me, Erie? And absolutely, Starry, you do. And, a cooking show, like, if you do, like, a live stream, a lot of times there's a lot of, time when all you're doing is stirring something. So it's even, I think, a good example to use that. I think they call it stream together now. I don't think they call it what they used to. But, like, you could have call-ins and answer questions. It'd be a good time. Also, it has officially gotten warm enough. The sock has returned. The warm sock. Okay. Mm. And probably, like, probably a solid move for you. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and so I don't know. Maybe I'm informed by not following a particular tradition when it comes to like working with any kind of, you know, animal modeled spirits, and having kind of forged that on my own. Um, so I wrestled with that myself, and like to me, this was this was why I dismissed a lot of it, was to craft some of that myself, and that's true. Hoodoo does have a large amount of Native American practices in it. Um, so you certainly have lineage, so to speak, to go into that the way, at least the way your ancestors practiced it. And I can't speak much to that because I don't have that background. But what I can tell you is, for me, there was a huge difference between the spirits that I didn't interact with, the animals of, right, and the spirits for whom the physical animal was present. Right, and that doesn't mean you have to keep one as a pet. It doesn't mean you ever have to touch one. Right, but the thing about animals is that they teach through just the way of their existence. And I think that in the same way that we can step aside and be a channel for a spirit, sometimes a given animal is. Right, so you can get some incredibly deep or complex messages from, and like when I started working, so I started working with corvids for a while, right? And so how I did it was I set a separate place out, because I was living at my mom's and she kept birds, right? And I set a separate space out specifically to feed crows and ravens and, or well, what, crows here. Um, and I ended up getting a lot of blue jays, which are also members of the same family. Um, and the thing, and so I guess I would say I guess I would say the biggest thing that I would suggest is that, okay, we can all have we can all have histories, traditions, or whatever that inform what these animals give you. But at the end of the day, like, Erie, have you ever handled a snake, for example? Have you ever, gone and just observed for a while? Like, that would be my thing, is go watch. Perfect, perfect. So you know the difference. Like, the snake will teach you everything you need to know. But I think there's absolutely a method of, or a thing of, an animal that's physically there teaches more than some vague spiritual concept. And I think the only way to really bond with some of these animal spirits is to seek out the physical animal. Right now, maybe, because that's another one that, like, mm, oh, we did forget to light the candle. Thank you, Nymira. Let me find. Chris is freaking hilarious. I know that doesn't sound weird at all. Like, sometimes we know. Mm. Well, and I also think that the spirits kind of bring us what we are suited for. Right. And so, for you, there's that, and all of that is correct. And then I know a guy who, like, his whole thing is snakes. He's a snake guy at, like, a zoo, and he keeps snakes at home and this and that and the other. And individual species of snakes mean radically different things to him. Right. But that's a level of granularity that he needs and is ready for. And, the snake across the board has been a sign of wisdom, right? Because, you know, Erie, you're better suited to talk about the African traditions than I am. But, we can turn just as easily to the Old Testament. And, like, yeah, a lot of that gets corrupted with ideas of original sin and this and that and the other. But the way I have always seen it is the snake certainly brought wisdom. or at least knowledge. Right. Even as a Christian, like, it was maybe forbidden knowledge. There's a Prometheus-like aspect to that. You know, from a very Christian context, if you think of the snake as the devil, there's this Prometheus aspect of knowledge we weren't necessarily supposed to have, but you can't deny he brought knowledge. Right, and of course, I have a way more nuanced view of that now. But at the end of the day, you know, the snake is what it is. So, do you need me to throw any cards, or are we just chatting? Because I think... Ooh. So what's that, Wolfie? Like, I will watch the occasional to regular anime. Like, I get in moods for it. Okay, so what am I confirming exactly? Like, phrase me a question. Um, Also, oh man, I'm lazy today. Mm. So, I think a mentor is the... I think a mentor is the wrong way to look at this. So, oh, you can't see these cards. You can't see the cards from down there. Hold on. Let me move them up here where you can see them. Whoops. So notice what we've got here. So we've got a commonality. We've got 3 queens, right? And of course, face cards indicate people. But I don't think that your 3 queens are talking about one person. Now, this mentor you have in mind, is this a female? Like, is this a woman? Okay. So there's a possibility there, because the first queen we have at the very beginning of this reading is a queen of clubs. Right, this is a woman in her power. Like, this would be a very mentor-like figure for a woman. Right, I'm okay with this. Queen of Hearts. Queen of Hearts, 9 of Diamonds. So 9 of Diamonds is new territory. Right. And I think this is where we start getting into this. Is that you're immediately presented with another queen, right? Another woman, and we're told there's value in new things, right? Then we get the 8 of clubs. This indicates, like, so for kind of a spiritual level or contact, this would indicate a working group, right? And then we get a 3rd queen. Right. So what this smells of to me, especially with 3 women, 3 females in the reading, the working group kind of thing going on, new territory. You don't need a mentor. You need a group of people, right? This screams like coven to me. And and yes, I'm attaching a, like, tradition specific word. But the thing about it is like Hoodoo doesn't really have groups like that. It's not like that. Right. Like, certainly at this point you forged those groups, which is exactly what I was going to talk about, singling out or finding out. I think worrying about a mentor is incorrect, but you do need guidance. You need to be able to put it to the group and have the group adjust from there. Right? Have the group offer group opinions and advice. Right? And we do that here to a certain extent. Yeah, I have the camera. I do the run in my mouth, but everybody chimes in. This is where you find your wisdom. And then, of course, the last card here, Five of Hearts, is just a gentle reminder, and it is a gentle one, to give back as you have value, because you do have value to this group. So make sure the things that you have more experience in, you're giving back. So I think that's your solution here. You don't need a mentor, you need a group. Right? And this group is what I want you to rely on, because it's not, in the same way that we kick around ideas and we throw slightly different viewpoints out, this other group will also do that, but within the tradition you're trying to hold to. Right? Because I offered you some thoughts, right? And Wolfie offered you some thoughts on, like, working with spirit animals. But I very deliberately stayed away from anything with any kind of tradition attached to it and forged my own path. I very deliberately stayed away from any kind of tradition, like, on purpose. And a lot of it for me is I might have to reinvent the wheel. The way quite honestly, the way I see it is this. Ah, okay. I will look at that in a little bit. The way I see it is this, is that, like, I can poke and you can find some level of old source material for working with uh, animal spirits in, cultures I'm directly descended from. You can find some bare bones basic stuff, but a living tradition doesn't exist anymore. Right. So if I have to take that source material, and yes, some things about animal spirits have entered enough of the public consciousness that I cannot avoid knowing them. Right. But if I have to reinvent the wheel, that's maybe better than riding around on someone else's stolen wheels. Right, so I reinvent the wheel. And in the process of that, you learn to, like, for me, in the process of that, I kind of learned how to, like, by the time I was doing that, I was drawing on having forged connections for myself, not reliant on tradition. Um, for other spirits as well. So I was learning skills I wouldn't have learned had I just grabbed a tradition and run with it. Certainly true. All right, let's see here. Ooh, sorry. Give me half a second. I'm gonna go run and refill this coffee real quick. I'll be right back. Here. Bigfoot shall keep you company. Oh, you can't see him from down there. Here. Bigfoot shall entertain for a moment. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. All right. So, cold iron thing that you mash herbs with. Oh, now I'm curious to see it. Although, sorry, also, how are you doing? I assume. I assume, sorry. Yeah, like, is it. Okay. Somewhat, but not. Yeah, I'll have to see it. Eerie. Good. So, he's holding back because there's stuff that's still pretty recent or raw, and he doesn't expect. I would, I would almost say he's still feeling it out, right? Somewhat of a relationship, but not. Um, yeah, okay, fair. Okay, fair. Um, so, so as of right now, also, there is quite a bit of distance between the two of you, correct? Like physical distance. Like, I don't remember it being ridiculous, but there is quite a bit of physical distance between the two of you. So if you would like to see this progress, understand that that in-person time is kind of like every part of it's important, but that in-person time is what really mm, that in-person time becomes what allows him to express himself. Right, like he's going to open up in person in a way he does not in text. And that isn't to say you won't have serious or deep discussions in text, but that real emotional feedback happens in person. So that's going to be a thing you're going to have to think about with that kind of distance between you. Well, and I mean, like, I think the party line from everybody here is a thing that he could easily enough agree with. At some point, you may want to think about moving together. Mm-hmm. At some point, you may want to think about moving to be in the same place as each other, but it is way too early to think about that anyway. And on some level, it's not like the man hurts for money. Like, he can take regular flights. And even if you have to drive, or if you can afford the flights, like, this is doable at a distance for a while, so there's no need to rush to moving together. It'll come in time, and it'll be right when it does. You know, because you will think your school, you will think the strength of the relationship, you'll think about the whole thing together. And right now, talk of you moving back should frighten him because it's too early for you to give up all that. Mid-October, I'm okay with that. And you guys are such strong planners. Like, both of you are such strong planners, I don't see a reason that that wouldn't work right. Like, I guess my biggest thought, let me get the last card out. So my biggest thought is, why do you call this surface level at best? Um, because I think there's a deep enough bond here and an acknowledgement of I think that there is a deep enough bond here and an acknowledgement of the age of the relationship, the other pressing issues or commitments for both of you, and and it's surface level because that is what's required. Does that make sense? Y'all are too new for anything other than that. It doesn't mean that he isn't. Yes, and that makes sense. I mean, you have some sorting out to do. Right? You have some sorting out to do. So that makes sense. But it's like, I think even even that, I think you guys have planned for. Look, take some time, figure some things out. He's coming back. He'll hopefully have some things figured out by then. Exactly. Exactly. The two of you, it's like your relationship is ruled by the Seven of Clubs. It's all going to have a plan. And things are going exactly according to the relationship plan right now. I mean, yeah, we can do that. Like I threw those cards, but we can look at something specific. What you got? Also, let me take a look at this. Let's do your reading first, and then I'll take a look at this thing on Discord. I mean, what do you want to do? I would assume that part of it is you'd kind of like to land at home for the internship, um, because that would get you closer to him for that period of time at least. Um, right, and fair enough. Okay, so when it comes down to it, I think Kayla will allow you to choose, and she'll let you do whichever of those you'd like to do, although she will offer an opinion. And I think her opinion is actually going to be similar to yours. I think she's also going to want you to go home. It's cheaper. Right, so we've got the Queen of Diamonds. She can show her value. She can offer an opinion here. Right, and it's Nine of Spades, so doing something new. Doing this research, over the summer is going to be new versus going back home. It even flat out kind of says you have an obligation to do what your money demands. Right. Eight of Clubs, like remember you have coworkers, so everybody, there will be people. There will be people to carry the summer research. You risk not being renewed. So Erie or Rogue, will somebody make the bot go away, please? I can get to it in a minute. You risk... Thank you, Rogue. You risk being or not getting renewed if you do the research or if you do not do the research. Like, is it less risky to keep doing the research And then you never have to be renewed for that, or is it the same either way? Hmm. So if you stayed in, so if you stayed for the summer, you'd never have to worry about being approved for the second term. Okay, so this begins to make some sense here. Right, so 8 of clubs, there are plenty of people to carry on the. Hmm. There are plenty of people to carry on the research. Kayla likes you well enough. Um, the last card that we have here, seven of spades, talks about fear. Right? I would not. I would not allow worry over not being approved to dictate your actions here. I would decide what is best for the summer on its own merit and not worry about whether you have to be approved or not. You'll be you'll be approved for the second term or whatever anyway. Right, everything's in place for that and I'm not worried about that. I suspect Kayla will push you to go home for the summer, but I also suspect she will not force the issue. Does that help? Uh, You know, given how rough some of your school stuff has been, I understand the I understand the level of almost paranoia with it. Like, I get it. And that's the thing is you won't. You won't. Like, she's busy. It is what it is. And, oh yeah, she's reasonable. And I feel like I feel like she's relatively like mm-hmm. I feel like she's relatively like no, she's not. And more to the point, she doesn't want what happened to Michael to be a long term bad experience for you. Or what happened with Michael to be a long term bad experience for you. I think she does feel a little apologetic, almost responsible for this. Right? Not in a she did anything wrong kind of way, but in a like how sometimes I'll do free readings or bend over backwards when I find out someone's been scammed. Right, I'm making up for my chosen field and how people act in my chosen field. Right, it's not really my responsibility, but it kind of is, if that makes sense. I feel the same kind of energy. This is her. Well, come by and I'll throw cards for you. I feel bad you got scammed. Come by, I'll throw cards for you. Right. This is her. There's some level of that there. She's going to go a little bit out of her way because Michael didn't. I don't know about all that. I don't know about all that, Brat. Like, don't make me that important. Shit. But, I feel a little bit bad, and if I can, if I can brush that aside and give somebody a little clarity, like, it don't take nothing but time out of my day, like, certainly I'm not going to turn around and do every reading I do for free all day, every day, right? Like, I do take clients. Mm-hmm. So, are you starting to see the cape hiding behind the lab coat a little bit, Starry? Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. She's sitting there like, I have power to make this a better experience. And what does she get out of that? Like, let's be pragmatic here and say she's looking for that for a reason. What is the reason? The two other lab members, just like you, what does she earn out of doing it that way? She gets loyalty and dedication that she can't buy. You know what I mean? When she's swooped in, she puts in a little extra legwork. She gets loyalty and dedication that she can't buy. And that extra hard work, because you are grateful, leads to positive performance. It's a positive feedback loop. Everyone's winning. I see why she's doing it. Right. She can help you, and she comes out ahead because y'all have more dedication. And it even has an area of effect. Brat. It even has an area of effect, right? Like, because as other people hear bits and pieces of your story, they're even more inspired. Right? She gets better work out of this. Everyone's winning. But I think at the end of the day, it shows a level of compassion that is part of why I'm like, look, she'll offer you a thought, but she's not going to force you to go one way or the other. All right, let's see. Do we still have? I think Brat is still on our list today. Correct. Oh yeah, no problem. All right, Brat. I'm gonna go catch a smoke real quick before we do yours, because I'm sure you got good tea. Okay, good, 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 good. Yep, and you even said it. Yours is gonna be a little long. Absolutely. And I will be right back. Okay, so let me get caught up here. Oh, Jesus. Alright, let me see. Oh, jeez. Okay. So, I think our easiest bit to look at first is going to be his level of awareness or what have you. So, okay. Let me see here. So, King of Clubs is absolutely like, this could be someone who is a little more aware or a little more like this you know, King of Clubs can be, you know, the magician. So I'm kind of all right with that, and that surprises me, honestly, because usually, like, that's real easy of a conclusion to jump to. Right, but it's right there. Now, Five of Diamonds tells me, you know, in this, he doesn't think other people are real thing, to look to the value that I would find in a statement like that. Right, because at the end of the day, my Hermetic philosophy is that's not exactly it, but when you oversimplify it, that's not wrong, if that makes sense. We're the center, like Hermetic philosophy teaches, we're all the center of our own universe, and like it's all one soul having multiple experiences, yada yada yada. Like there's some mirror in that. But then the nine tells me to go a slightly different direction. Right. Um, so I think we're dealing with a like I think it's easy for that kind of, I don't know how real other people are, you know, solipsistic argument to be taken somewhat out of context, or like immediately twisted into something more negative. Right, and I don't know, you can talk any kind of like mental health disorders you want. You can talk this, that, and the other. But there's also like perfectly sane, reasonable philosophies about interconnectedness and how lives are experienced and needing to be the center of your own universe. Like, there's also fairly non-insane approaches to that. So I think that you didn't mishear, but I think you're reading into it because you worry. Right. I think you read into it because, again, like I would, again, at this point for you, I put forward that, like, things sat for a minute, and look what happened here. Things sat, it got a little quieter, you started working on yourself, and I appreciate the work on yourself, and it dredged some things up, and now we're here with drama again. Right. And sure, you actually stirred some things up, but what in particular, and I am going back to look again, what in particular has necessarily, like, and and that would be the thing. The dream is a result of, you can call it shamanic healing, you can call it some level of psychological reintegration, you can call it shadow work, you call it whatever the hell you want to call it. But the dream is a direct result of you stirred shit up internally. Right. And that doesn't mean I think anything in the dream is necessarily wrong, but you got it when you got it because you stirred things up. Right. And you got it when you got it because you went poking around. Right. You went poking around, you were talking, you're pulling glamour stuff off of him. Um, so you did go poking around in all the energies and whatever. Right, I'm not surprised between the shadow work and pulling off other spell work. Like, what did you do? You took all the energies up and you stirred it all. Right, and I'm not surprised to see you have dreams and reactions to that. Right, that's the same energy on it. In theory, that's the same energy on its way out. And what I'm going to float to you is if this. So, you know that I'm animist enough to conceptualize all spell work as a spirit. Right. Um, Chris didn't exactly start as spell work in and of himself, but I guess you could say he was attracted by some of Starry's spell work. Right. And we have someone else, and I don't know how much she wants this around, so I'm not going to touch on it too much. But I have someone else who started spell work that working with me we personified, and now this is what started as spell work is now a fairly full-fledged member of her spiritual court. Right. And as a chaos magician, you know how thought forms work. Right. So, if I can conceptualize all spell work as a spirit, right, as an entity, then as you're pulling things off of you, is it not going to shake things up? Exactly to do this. This is the survival instinct of, like, let's just call it like the spell work of spirit, like, so that type of spell work laid on somebody else would by its nature be a parasite. right? So this is a survival instinct of the parasite. And in order to remove this parasite from you, you cannot feed it now. You cannot feed it now because if you feed this parasite now, it will stay rooted in you. You'll find that you didn't really, you'll have trouble removing the spell work if you allow this focus now. Will you remove the effect for now? Certainly. Will it come back? Yeah. So you're absolutely correct. You are absolutely correct about all the things that it stirred up. And the solution is not to feed it right now. Make sense? Not that we don't enjoy the tea around here, but let's not feed into it. All right. Anybody else before I call it a night? Because, I don't work in the morning, but somebody got to get up and make sure the kid gets off to school. So at least one of us is still up at 7 a.m. He says jittery from coffee and yawning. Never you mind that. All right, folks. Let me make sure I got everybody today. I'm pretty sure I did. Yep, no worries. All right, folks. Well, I think I'm going to call it there and head to bed. I'll see everybody in a couple of days. All right, y'all have a good night.